Oh, okay. Got it.
Okay.
Got it.
That's
One sec.
That's the thing to say. You can smoke.
No, I don't want it.
Fine. Thank you.
Okay. So,
Yes, sir.
that was some
What exactly you want?
Well,
Can you just tell me in general so I can go into? Oh no, no. Huh?
Oh, I'm gonna pass back by. I gotta go to the post office. Are you gonna be here for a minute? All right.
Got
If
it.
I don't see you here, I will message you in a bit.
Got it.
well,
Not a problem.
Okay.
Great seeing you.
let's start with your story. Tell me how you came to East Village.
Okay, can I just because it's so much we can talk for hours.
I know.
I need to know like
Okay, so-
specific, like what are you looking for, like in general, like.
I'm looking for a story that tells me something about a person in the East Village who's impacted by COVID, and it sort of ripples outward from them, right? Because you have a restaurant, you're closing it because of COVID.
So
but-
basically, let me repeat that so we're on the same page. It's very important to get this going correctly, so you get what you want. You're looking for a story, a situation where COVID been impacted by COVID-19 in a negative way, which is we going out of business. The impact of COVID-19 on us as a business and our ability to continue. Correct?
Right.
One point. Another point.
Well, I want to know, like, I want to sort of bring to life what COVID-19 is doing to the East Village. I mean, that's the ambition of the project, is sort of just bring it to life and
Okay.
give people real stories about what's actually happening,
Okay.
right? But in order to do that, I do need to have background, like, okay, who is Ali?
I mean, personally, it's not interesting.
Okay.
And for me, not even like it's no big deal. There's some guy who has a business, There's no story behind me, So there is nothing personal in it. As a person, there is no story behind me, Like there's nothing really interest anybody. The interest is so we can focus,
Yeah,
A business in the East Village that's been impacted by.
yeah.
COVID-19.
But when you say business, I'm actually looking
I mean,
at the personal side, like what's a real life.
We are part of it, but it's not what I'm married, single, divorced. That's not interesting.
Okay.
I mean, it's not
that
my
aspect,
personal
but
story,
In order for people to come in, I think they need to know a little bit of your background. Like, how did you end up in East Village? How did you start this business?
I mean,
what
I
led you to
had
start
a
it?
bunch of them, So I mean, I had a bunch of them as small business, always as immigrant, But it's not important. My personal being in the story as the focus, I always shy away from that too. I'm not the issue. The issue is something happening, and policies fucked up that affected all of us, and therefore.
Yeah, but I feel like people can't relate to policies. They want to relate to a person. They want to know who this
I
guy
can't
is.
tell them, well, who am I? I was born in such and such. That's not, that's not something that I would like to even talk about it
Well,
in
we
a
don't need to
personal
talk
level.
about to that level, but we can just talk about living in the East Village. You've been here for a long time.
Correct, yes.
Yeah.
But
so you could talk a bit about that. What's the East Village mean to you, and what's New York City mean to you, and what? Why do you love it? Why do you hate it? I mean, just anything to sort of personalize.
okay, that's okay. We can do that. And COVID-19. Anything else you have in mind? So because that's what I'm going to go on my mind to click into that.
No, that's
There's
just
so much to
basically
talk
it.
about.
I mean, there's going to be other things that come up that I might want to explore them, but I can
Yeah.
tag you. But let me just look and see as you're
Sure.
moving forward
Sure,
how well it's framed.
sure.
Okay, that works. Yeah,
Got
that
it.
works. Okay, so start where you want to with those ideas in mind. Where do you want to start
What's
with that?
what's the question? Ask
The
question.
question is, okay, tell me how you started Native Bean. Tell me about this business.
We started 20 years ago, and was a neighborhood place, and we moved from one space to another space in Avenue A. So we are here for 5 years. Total is about 20 years.
Okay, and tell me a little bit about the business. What
It's a coffee shop, simple, moms and pops, small business, less than 5 people working.
Okay, so 5 people work here, and when you first started, you had the 5 people. Have they changed? It coming?
Of course. With the 20 years we've been here, so we've seen hundreds of people through the time. But there are some people who are staying for a long time, and they're partner actually. So it's like kind of collective in a way.
Okay, tell me a little bit about that. It does seem to have a unique.
It's a partnership. Like people working, we see that they're responsible enough. We make them partner, so they share some of the profit.
Okay,
Yeah.
that seems sort of unique. Is that unique around here?
Not sure really. We just do what's responsible in a way,
It always seemed to have a family kind of feel to it when I came in here. Like these guys who worked here, it seemed that it was more than just a job. Is that fair?
Yep. Well, it's not. They're part of it, so they're part of. They have responsibility for it because they are part of it. They gain from when it does good, so there's an incentive for them to do well.
Okay. And
So
how
they're
do
all like, you get into the right side of people. It's not like we're genetically better than others. No, we're a human being, bad and good, courageous and coward and everything. Everything is in there. It's just a question of balance and how we can become better when we are invested in something and feeling it closely. So they're part of the business operation.
Now, when you have a business like this and it's in a community like this, can you talk to me a bit about that? Like, you notice you have regular customers, and there's people you've gotten to know over many years here. Talk to me a little about those relationships. How do you fit in around here? How do
There is needs for such business. So it was not just a business, purely business sense. Like, you take this and you pay this and you leave. You know, it's not like, which is nothing wrong with this model. Midtown or McDonald's, or that's a kind of almost ready package, like assembly line. We're a neighborhood place, you know, where people meet, children take their classes. It's a hotbed for activism in the East Village. Many collectives started big time because on a lot of positive work right now started from this coffee shop in some form or another. It's always been classes to the neighbor, editing classes, all kind of things, music. It relates to the people, so they have this connection with it as part of the community, almost business / community center.
Oh wow! So you've seen some things grow out of it that were not
Perhaps.
related at all to the selling.
No,
of
nothing to
coffee
do
or-
with business. It was just more or less as Oi, how are you doing? Good to see you, brother. Good to see you. It's more, yes. Yes, sir. Oh, excuse-moi. Excuse-moi. Yes, it is. It derived from what it was, pure business sense, to something else, which is a community center, more or less, with profit, you may add, because we get paid.
Right.
It's not like we given. It's a government agencies, but it was something needed, I guess. Our energy, our personalities manifested well. People accepted it. We all connected, customers and us. So they became part of it. So we have customers giving classes. Customer knows something better than the other people, or teaching something, he would give us class and give other customers too. They would come at night and we sit down and we're all with computers and.
Right. I remember
So,
seeing like you had
yeah.
a projector. And
So that's our relation to the neighborhood, you know. So we've been here for almost now 5 years. It's been bad for like 2 years ago. It started like going bad, and it starts changing.
What do you
And
mean by that?
lately with COVID-19, we cannot sustain it as a business because we have a problems with paying rent. We cannot do it on our own. We needed intervention from the outside. The business was not enough. The income is not enough. So it was impossible. It is impossible for us to continue because it will be we cannot pay rent basically, and the landlord require his rent perhaps, and it's not he's good or he's bad. He's not to be blamed into that. We fault the city and the government, the state government, for not coming up with ideas for the landlords, and we suggested for them to give them break in the real estate tax. Real estate tax is huge in New York City. It's killing us, killing this city basically. It's the elephants in the room that everybody's avoiding. People pay so much real estate tax, more so commercial than residential.
And you actually worked with the state assemblyman.
We used to work with the state assemblymen. We suggested that. They picked up our ideas. They made a law. We discussed it heavily with local assemblymen and the state senators. And they came up with ideas, but when the law got drafted and they start negotiating in Albany, and it took a number, it became completely something different. They took away everything we had to do with the tax break for the landlord, and that was the issue. You must, in order for this city to come back, it's very simple. The city has to stop charging real estate tax the massive way that they're doing it. Massive. So the landlord, you cannot charge the landlord and tell him to give me free rent. I mean, it's only logical.
Right.
But-
Now, I'm a simple person about that kind of thing, but I'm wondering, if you cut the real estate tax, did the city cut services or do they make up the money somewhere else?
We don't care what they do. They do. They have programs that are inefficient. They have waste.
So you would think they would cut other things.
They must.
Yeah.
They must cannot do business as usual. That doesn't
But they
work.
need to save these businesses.
They save the business and save the landlord and save the neighborhood unless they wanted it to go under all of it, which has happened before in the 60s and the 70s in this neighborhood that we live here for a long time. What has happened before that the neighborhood went down, landlord cannot pay the real estate tax, the city put lien on them and took out these buildings, and they've been abandoned for years.
Until
It
people
was
came in.
infested with drugs, dealing, crimes, prostitutions, and everything else in between.
Yes.
Some people start taking over these buildings. That's why we have the idea of HDFC. These were abandoned buildings. The city never owned them. There's nothing to do with this city. The city is trespassing and the original owner
Right, right.
in this neighborhood. So they took them over and they kept the lien, took them with the tax lien. They did not build them. City nothing to do with them. And now people try to, as a HDFCs, took over these buildings, cleaned them up, made the place livable, and now the city still doesn't want to give them part of the ownership of this. Start playing game with them
Yeah,
because
yeah.
it became valuable. So this is an experience has happened before in this neighborhood. With this in mind, there would be more places out of business. People leaving this city. This building that I live, that we work in here, has a 22 apartments. Only 5 are occupied today. So, if they're a small landlord, he would have hard time maintaining this. It's a business. He has tax to pay. He has banks to pay. He has mortgages to pay. So, as a landlord, if he has a hard time, he would give up this building and not paying the tax. The city gonna put lien on it. So the city is acting as a criminal organization with the law, taking people's property for tax that was so massive.
So it sounds like what
So-
you're saying is that there needs to be a complete rethink of the system, the way it works.
Breaking the system of the tax in New York City, real estate tax, because everything, I sell sandwich for $10 and I'm ashamed of it. But I have to, because of my rent and the real estate tax on the landlord who's jacking me every year. The part of the extra of the real estate tax that he pays every year, the increase, I pay percentage of that as a commercial.
Do you think there's a chance that
So the law, going back to the law, that was the city stopped charging and give a break to the landlord. So by which he would give me a break and the tax break he took from the city.
right?
So I'm here rent free. I'm not asking for no money from the city or the state. I'm not asking for that, and none of us is asking for that. We're asking to rent a break. Rent a break comes from if you stop charging the real estate increase or the real estate tax to my landlord, and I take that break and put it towards my rent. They know, they have the certificate of occupancy. They know there is a commercial spaces here. They know exactly with square foot. It's in their system. With no money exchange here. And we're talking about a small business. Now, speaking of the money, they give up other program. They're fanatic about their programs. Inefficient program, but it's not even that. 62% of small businesses in the city have 5 people or less working. So it's not massive. And they are the heart and the beat of the city, but they're small businesses. 62% of small businesses in the city are having 5 people or less working. Estimated number is $1.5 billion to $2 billion to pay the rent for the whole year
For all of those businesses?
for all these businesses. Now, $2 billion for the city of New York, what's the big deal? HPD, Housing Development Preservation Department, budgets $3.5 billion. Police Department, $6 billion. When Amazon wanted to come to the New York City, to do their eastern headquarters, they were competing with Newark, New Jersey, Washington, D.C., Virginia, Atlanta, and a bunch of other cities in the South. New York City gave them $10 billion tax incentive. They can't do that. They did this to Amazon. They gave Amazon abandoned stadium in the Gowanus, promised them. I mean, they can do that for small businesses. So the money is there. The will is there. It's just not with the small business, because small business don't have no lobby. They're a victim. They get treated badly because they don't reach out correctly and lobby the political process. And everything in this country is lobby. If you don't have no voice, you get
They
nowhere.
don't have the power.
We don't have the power, we don't have the organization, we don't have anything. So they keep abusing us. Add to it the expense to do business in New York City. We pay the highest internet rate in the world. Highest on a mediocre surface. And why is that? Because it's a monopoly. You talk about the freedom of this, freedom of that in this country. That's not true. Freedom of business, and it's bullshit. It's not true. You got one company, Con Edison. You have to go through. Any other energy company has to do with Con Edison. Internet, two companies, Spectrum and Verizon. Nothing else. And you're paying the highest, most expensive. But if you talk to Spectrum people, executives, ask them why. They will tell you that the city charges them so much to get the cable from the street to the buildings. We go back to the city raising money. Right now we are in a situation where like almost the declining of the Roman Empire, where everybody is just source of revenues. Fees, you pay so much fees. Any health department or any city agency comes here, walk away with 1,000, 2,000. That's my money. I have the right to live. I have the right to make living after paying everybody. You don't come and take it from me in my pocket like that. Same thing they do when you see them, how they give the ticket, parking ticket. This car here, for 1 second, they get ticket for $65. We're looking at right here now. If you look at this space and the period of time that was parked, what, 10 feet by 5 or 6? This space for $65 is the most expensive real estate property in the world right now. Massive violations. But that's also the system we have in here is punishment.
Right.
Never is
Do you think this is a
nurturing.
moment that you were able to sit down with an assemblyman? Granted, the law was not passed the way you envisioned, but the very fact that you were able to, and do you feel like this is a moment in the city that maybe this system can be reformed? Are you optimistic?
No. No, I mean, it's not about optimistic or pessimistic. It's about realistic. Realistically, it's not going to pass. Got changed. Neither the assemblyman or others, they're not going to do anything about it because also he needs other people in that assembly.
Right.
He needs their votes. And are they interested? I don't think so. They need noise. They need Black Lives Matter protests. They need a lot of chaos in order for them to listen. Hey, they don't need to like politely and get low and peacefully. That doesn't work here.
Okay.
So no, there's not about optimistic or pessimistic. It's more or less. It's more or less is not realistic at all. And then
Okay, hold on.
Yeah.
I had to pause it because I need to change the card. Take 2 minutes.
yeah.
Let me, it's going to take a minute. Take 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Take a
Yeah,
seat.
I'll make a text.
I knew I had about 12 minutes on that one.
Like you saying that you're number 3 is not something.
Okay, so just gonna clap it.
Sure.
Okay, so let me back up a little bit for a minute. When COVID-19 hit, talk to me about, this started like what, in February, March, right? All shit broke loose. Can you talk to me, can you sort of rewind a bit and go back to that moment when you realized, I can't, there's no way I can make it? Did you know from the day?
What are you doing?
Like I heard the bad news.
Good to see you. No, it's all good. It's all good.
Yeah,
Change is
it's
good.
gonna be good eventually, you know. Just
Yeah,
take a break.
it's all good. Good to see you, brother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about from the beginning of COVID, they came out and they said everything needs to close. Can you remember back to that moment and think a bit about how you realized, okay, what's going to happen to my business? Did you go into a panic? Did you go, oh shit, what's happening? Or what
No,
was
no,
your-
we took it just one day at a time. And we opened. We never closed.
Oh, okay.
We never closed one day.
You put a table here or something and sort of.
I mean, we were doing delivery and pick up, curb, pick up, you know. But we knew it's not enough, and for how long. And meanwhile, there was
How much did business fall off?
90%. Yeah, 90%. And not only that, when the whole trouble is it's okay for disaster to hit. There's nothing new here, anywhere in the world. Just our ability to maintain it, to manage it, to navigate it, not as a small business, as in a city administration or as a government in the federal or in the local. There was no response. They were panicking. They were delayed. I mean, in the beginning, it was hitting everywhere in the world. It was just a matter of time. They were in a state of denial. They couldn't accept that it's going to come here. That goes back to the American exceptionalism. We're better than anybody else. It doesn't happen here. Of course, it was too late. But I knew that because in Hong Kong and Vietnam and other countries, it was causing havoc. And rather than dealing with it realistically, they were in denial. I knew that somehow, personally, that it's going to hit hard. And these people don't mean business, they're in denial. So back then we took it one day at a time, just in case we're ready, available to go. So we spoke to the landlord. He said, look, this is not going to happen. We paid actually rent. We paid February, we paid March. After that we couldn't. So, but also they were blaming the people who were talking about restaurants and small businesses. They start blaming the wrong people, which is very American classic. They never point out the real issue here. The language, the politically correctness, the so-called white liberals or progressive, and they always avoid the real issues in many incidents, but in this case was, oh, the companies like Grubhub, they charge too much fees. Please. So what?
Yeah, that's not.
That's not the problem. Grubhub went down 90% for me. Fees or no fees. I was doing a specific number with the Grubhubs. They dropped down 90%. So they're suffering themselves. But they went for them rather than going what's made all of this. And later on we can talk about these delivery application companies and how much fees they charge. But that's not the issue here.
The issue is that there's.
The issue is there is a big problems here. You people wake up. We've been through other disasters such as 9/11, blackout in New York for 3 days. We worked. Storms. We navigated so much of national disasters.
Right.
And we were okay, but this is different. It's different, and they were denying. And I read Chinese newspaper and international newspaper all the time. This one specific comes from Hong Kong, a great newspaper owned by Jack Ma, the guy who owns Alibaba. Brilliant newspaper, as good as New York Times or even better than New York Times. But because Chinese, we don't like Chinese, you know. We don't like whatever, as they don't want us. There was a lot of new research done, and there's nothing here. And I was reading that. If the government doesn't know that. So yes, we knew it was going to be for a long haul, so we shut down a lot of our operations, hours. We start navigating as much as we can. At least we pay the people labors, and we pay, you know, the Con Edisons and Spectrums and the taxes and the things that we have to without paying the rent. So
Right.
we didn't pay the rent since April. So the landlord is kind of got victimized by us. That we are victimized, so we're all in it together. Yes, but that's not an answer too.
So do you feel? So when you made the decision, you finally said, "Okay, I'm gonna have to close it down." Can you walk me through that? Was it as simple as
The numbers are not matching for a long time. For how long we're gonna be here waiting? We were in a state of hope. We have to hope. We have to have hope no matter what, you know. So we were waiting for something to happen. So you have to be patient sometimes. You do
Gave
something.
me the sad news. I'm so sorry to hear.
Yeah,
It's really
it's all good. How you doing?
Maybe you come back?
If the things change, we will.
Yeah.
Yeah, but right now it's not doable and it's not
Yeah.
sustainable.
Yeah.
It's just a lot of suffering, and we
Real
don't
loss.
need to. You know, everything is changing, and this is big one.
Yeah.
So, but we paying a price for it too. Every day we're here, we're losing,
Of course.
and we working hard. We also entitled to make living too, you know.
Oh.
And we don't even pay rent, so it's not fair for the landlord. It's not fair for ourselves. It's better for him to close it down, so that way he claimed that there's no rent there, so he doesn't pay rent tax.
Right. It's honorable of you.
Thank you so much. It's all good.
I'm missing.
We miss you too, brother.
No.
Okay.
I know EVG,
No,
but
no.
If you
Did you reporting on the neighborhood?
no, it's a group of us that do documentary film kind of stuff, and
Okay.
we got together and said, let's start telling some stories about what's going on.
Great idea.
yeah, Avi Groove is like kind of very anonymous.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
he lives in my building.
He-
Based on the posting.
He's an old guy, and he's an old guy, and he wake up very early in the morning. That's,
Okay.
and he wake up very early in the morning. That's for sure. That's for sure. All the sunrise. Good people.
Great article idea for him.
Yeah, email them.
Does he?
He responds, yeah. I've sent him ideas.
Yeah, email them. They're good people.
Yeah.
Email Stacy.
Stacy.
Stacy Joe, amazing woman,
Okay.
beautiful human being.
You're here for another week or so?
For another few days. Great day, brother.
Good care.
Peace, man.
So do you, how did it feel when you realized, like, I can't make
Well,
it?
I mean, we're not.
Made you feel bad? How do you feel?
No, I mean it's not bad. I mean, been around enough to understand. Change is good too. Change is required, and this is a situation that is above, behind our control as a human. This is big. It's huge. This country never seen it, or this whole world never seen it. You have to think different. Thinking yesterday to apply today, you're a fool. Not you. I mean, the person. You know, third pronoun. It's not something that you can do. It needs different thinking, different mentalities, different approach. The hopes and the wants and the aspiration that was a year ago, that doesn't apply now. Today you just need to have a shelter over your head and have your meals, and tomorrow's another day. This is like big storm. You cannot think of going to the beach in the storm. You're not your normal yourself. This is just prolonged. Almost today, over 200,000 Americans died, and it's coming back. And they opened the school and they're not prepared. These people who run the show are joke too, because they worst of management of such thing. And you look at, to know how disastrous the response is, look at country like Vietnam. We're not supposed to talk about other countries doing beautiful things. Well, how come we are the Americans? Vietnam, 0 deaths, sir. 300 cases maximum. And then you tell them that's here, they say, oh no, you can't. They do things they don't have the freedom and democracy in them. It's bullshit. It's bullshit. They can do anything they want here. They took it serious. They took it serious. I tried to buy a real decent mask, I can't find.
It's just about.
I cannot find a mask to buy, a real mask. This is bullshit. This is nothing. It's worthless. But I'm wearing it. And then in Taiwan, they deliver it to you at home. You have 10 people in the family. Every week you go to the local pharmacies, your name is there, you take your package. So we're talking about preparation. They opened the school that day. How will you open the school without real serious preparation? 10 cases showed up. They shut it down again. And on and on. So we're having people here who are not serious. They don't understand. Or they're so privileged of a class that they have no clue how to manage the masses, because they live okay. They think everybody's fine the way that things are. It's not. 60% of American people don't have $500 worth of cash in case of emergency. That's Harvard University studies.
People are very vulnerable. So
And we're talking about the richest nation in the world. What's that means to an African American, to me, to anybody here in the streets who's suffering? What the richest nation? We don't know that. We have no help whatsoever. You go to school, you have to pay. You take a student loans.
So what do you think, I want to jump out now beyond native being, but for the community, what do you think is going to happen now? You've seen a lot of businesses here close.
I know at least about 30 personally.
Wow.
I can give you a list right now. And the cities, interestingly enough, they don't have an agency or an office or one person to track who went out of business. They only know at the end of the year when you have the consumer affair license or a permit, which is you pay like $280 for no reason. They only know then, but they don't track it. they're not interested to track it because the numbers are massive. And yes, it's going to be an exodus, of course, unless interventions take place.
Do you think ultimately there'll be some sort of intervention?
Good, right?
Huh?
I got phone. If you can, you got me.
Give me 2 minutes. Yeah, yeah.
Do you think there'll be an intervention? Are you at all? Do you think?
I don't think so.
Smarter people.
No, I don't think so because it will be, but it will be managed to make more money out of it for a privilege. They will give a little guy like me here and there. Like we got $2,000 from this PPP
That's it.
in 1950 to be exact. They will give here and there to just to let it look like as the people get, but the fact is they will jump in it. Pelosi took money from the PPP. She has a hotel, her husband, in the Sonoma Desert in California. She got paid. Phil, what's up?
Wait, what? You're back?
No, we're here for a few days. I mean, for coffees and things that we have.
You just running the stuff out?
Yeah. So
Oh, I'm sorry.
no, it's okay.
okay.
This Phil Hartman,
Hi.
Two Boots Pizzerias. Joe Lambert, my neighbor, my dear friend, filmmaker.
Thank you.
He's trying to do something about the neighborhood.
Yeah, good.
Phil is a filmmaker. Film is one of the real activists in New York City and the East Village. Started this Howl Festival, if you remember.
Yeah.
Phil is a man. This neighborhood is what it was and will be a beautiful place always because of people like Phil Hartman.
Thank you.
Truly.
And likewise.
No, we work with you and we go behind you and we're very happy
Yeah.
because we give you the leadership of this because you're doing beautiful for all of us.
Well, Al, I really
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Yeah, we never known about Chinese cinema unless till we went to Two Boots videos, you know.
I'm doing this book. I'm making this book about COVID.
Okay.
About my 3 months. And I've got a nice page for you.
Of course. Of course.
I don't know if you remember, I got a picture of you a few months ago. And you said some very beautiful things. So.
Absolutely, Phil. We would love
Yeah.
to. Anything
But
you do.
I also have Manny in there, and I'm worried. Where is Manny?
Manny, he comes later on, but today is I think cloudy and it was kind of raining. He will not come.
Okay, you've seen him?
Yeah.
Okay, so
He's
I haven't
good.
seen him in.
No, he comes late.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
Manny
right.
is the person who sells in the streets. Our friends for years, 30 years.
Oh, he does what?
That's his stuff.
His stuff in the streets, you know.
Oh, okay.
He's been there like 15 years.
Part of the fabrics of this Avenue A
Yeah.
and East Village, you know.
It's quite
We-
a heavily textured fabric.
Yeah. There are a lot of characters here.
Yeah. I
We-
mean, really, this intersection is especially rich with characters.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, when you get to know it behind the scenes, it gets really rich.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Yeah.
Now,
Thank to you, Phil, for making it livable and beautiful and progressive.
well, thank you.
No, truly.
I actually spoke to the guys doing the art attack in the East River Park in 2 weeks. You know, to try to save the park.
Mm.
The park's being
Yeah.
torn apart. And
Yeah.
So we're just arranging to feed like 250 artists coming.
Wow.
All over the country they're coming. Actually.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Let me know so we
Is there
can have
any
any.
chance to save the park? It seems like it's a done deal.
Well, the opposition is pretty ferocious.
Unbelievable.
Even though it is a done deal, they're not giving up.
Well, they lost.
Unbelievable.
There was a lawsuit and it
Yeah.
got thrown out, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they're talking about the what do they call that? Appropriation of the land. It has to be what's the term? It has to be given by the state in order for
Yeah.
the parkland to be.
Yeah. The last thing I saw, they lost.
What's that?
They lost.
Yeah, they lost.
The last thing I saw.
So sad to go
Well,
even through
how's
this.
Two Boots doing?
We're hanging in there. You
Do
know.
you think you'll survive it?
Yeah. And you know, honestly, only because I have like financial partners now. If it had been being by myself.
Yeah, it would have been difficult. Yeah.
Okay, well, Ali, I think we've covered the main things.
You got it, boss.
Um,
It's all good.
but I'd love to hear about the book.
Yeah.
Take the information and Phil.
Yeah, can I get your?
Yeah.
I live up the street.
You have a card?
Yeah.
I don't have a card.
What kind of